Every now and then, something weird will pop up in the AFL. In week 1 of the trade period, the Herald Sun reported that Carlton small forward Matt Owies was asking for a contract worth $700,000 to $800,000 per season. Now he is out of contract, and because of a salary cap squeeze at Carlton, he is someone a rival club could come and poach. He is 27 and kicked 33 goals in 2024 to be the Blues' best ground level player inside their forward 50. But he's obviously not worth that huge price tag, and it may be a reason no other club has shown interest. At least that's what everyone thought. The next day on trade radio, Sam Edmund said he spoke to Owies' manager and that the large figure was not true and was made up. Edmund said, "I spoke to Owies' manager last night and he said the reports of his salary were wildly inaccurate, completely false. His manager was filthy. This has done Matt Owies' reputation no favours, unfortunately. He is not asking for $700,000 to $800,000 though. That is not true at all." It's a strange situation, as why would Carlton or another club come out and lie about what Owies is asking for? But clearly, someone is fibbing from somewhere. It's not the only time Carlton has been in a weird situation during the trade period, but we'll get back to that after. One of the biggest turning points in AFL history happened in 1987. It was a trade, but not with draft picks or players, but with money. The AFL draft at this point in time was still zone controlled and not like it is today. With some fortune, North Melbourne were able to steal one of the greatest ever players for just $10,000. Greg Miller, a few years before 1987, was the Sydney recruiting officer and one day went to watch a young John Longmire star for New South Wales in a carnival. Another 12-year-old by the name of Wayne Carey also caught his attention. Skip forward to 1987, and Miller was now at North Melbourne, still working in recruiting and football management as the CEO. He again watched Carey, this time as a 17-year-old, in a school representative match in Adelaide. He was best on ground, and no other recruiters were at the game. Miller wanted Carey and Longmire, but the problem was both were zoned in Sydney and under a 36-month ruling. But soon after, Miller bumped into Sydney Swans CEO Ron Thomas at VFL headquarters and was successfully able to negotiate 2 transfer fees, a $60,000 one for John Longmire and a $10,000 fee for Wayne Carey. It's not like any trade we can see in today's game, but that $70,000 deal has to be one of the greatest in history. Longmire would go on to win the 1990 Coleman Medal and North Melbourne Best and Fairest, totalling 200 games and 511 goals. He did miss out on the 1996 Premiership due to a knee injury, but played in the 1999 Grand Final win. And we all know the greatness of Carey. 244 games and 671 goals for North Melbourne. A 2-time Premiership captain, 7-time All-Australian, and 2-time Players MVP. In hindsight, it's one of the most pivotal deals in the AFL and led to the best era in North Melbourne's history. In the 2022 trade period, we saw something incredibly rare in the AFL. 2 of our superstar ruckmen join up together on the same team. When it became clear Brodie Grundy was not essential at Collingwood, Melbourne, who had been eliminated in straight sets in 2022, decided to take a punt and experiment. For pick 27, they landed the 2-time All-Australian and 2-time Best and Fairest winner. The move showed the D's were ready to take risks and also try to help protect the longevity of Max Gawn's career. However, the move just didn't work out. Melbourne does deserve some praise for at least trying to evolve their team, but the fundamental flaws were there from the start. Unlike Gawn, Grundy couldn't play as a pure forward and still can't today. He just isn't a natural forward, and his big advantage as a ruckman is his ground level work and follow up. The other big issue with the move was that Gawn's impact fell off because he wasn't in the ruck. Up until round 17, Gawn had put up subpar numbers for his usual standards. Now Grundy was valuable early on as he helped cover Gawn, who got injured in round 2, but the experiment lasted until that round 17 game. In those 16 matches, Grundy managed just 10 goals and looked lost when placed forward. He would return for one more cameo in a round 22 loss to Carlton. But on the other side of things, Max Gawn would explode into form. From round 18 onwards, Melbourne went 6-1 and Gawn in round 18 and 20 had two of the highest rated games of the season. They would again lose in straight sets during finals and officially end the Gawn and Grundy experiment, which saw the former Collingwood ruck playing in VFL practice games at times. Grundy would be moved on in the 2023 trade period to Sydney for pick 46 and a future second round selection. Joining Grundy as a weird modern day move was when Lachie Weller joined Gold Coast from Fremantle. Weller was picked 13 in the 2014 draft, and his first 3 seasons in the AFL were decent. He played 22 games in 2016 and 2017, averaging 15 disposals, then jumping that up to 20 disposals. But I think most AFL fans wouldn't have even known who he was, so it was a big shock of the 2017 trade period when he moved to Gold Coast. The price of the trade was really eye-opening. Weller and pick 41 were moved to the Suns in exchange for Brandon Matera and the second overall pick in the national draft. It didn't make a whole lot of sense at the time, and still doesn't today. Weller's 22 games in his first season at Gold Coast was the only time he played 20 or more games in a year, and he really has battled injury from 2021 onwards. At least pick 41, which was a part of the deal, has become Charlie Ballard, who has turned out to be a draft steal for the Gold Coast. Now Matera was okay at Fremantle, kicking 46 goals in his 3 seasons, but pick 2 was a gem in Andrew Brayshaw. He has already played 146 AFL games, been an All-Australian, AFLPA MVP, and won a Best and Fairest. He turns just 25 in November and has a whole lot more football left to play. It was a strange trade by Gold Coast at the time, but on the other side of things, it's been one of the most important moves the Fremantle Football Club has ever made, with Brayshaw looking like a future captain of the club and a 300 game player. In an effort to replace the AFL Team of the Century fullback Stephen Silvani, Carlton in the 1999 off-season looked to another Stephen, former Geelong player, and at the time Fremantle fullback Stephen O'Reilly requested a transfer out from the Dockers to move back to Victoria. Now he did win Fremantle's Best and Fairest in 1996 and had multiple top 5 finishes, but in 1998 and 1999 he spent more time forward and his overall form had dipped. The 27-year-old was earmarked as Silvani's replacement, who would end up retiring in 2001. The Blues traded pick 16 and 46 for O'Reilly, which was a big price tag. Fair to say, it ended up being a weird situation. He managed just 12 games in the 2000 season, with reports online he suffered a chronic back issue, but also had continued difficulties with his hamstring, which were occurring when he was playing for Fremantle. He retired in the 2000 off-season, but it wouldn't be the last time Carlton fans had to see the O'Reilly name. At the end of 2002, he was one of the 4 players named in the Carlton salary cap scandal. The penalties for the salary infringement included picks 1, 2, 31 and 34 in the 2002 national draft, Carlton's first and second round picks in 2003, and a nearly $1 million fine. Not only was the initial trade for O'Reilly already costly with no production whatsoever, but 2 years after he had left, the real pain would begin.